Welcome to our Spotlight On series, but with a twist this time, where we'll be talking to some of our very own brilliant employees about their career paths to date and what it's really like to work for Impression, all in the hopes of helping you to find the best place to transform your digital career. Welcome to today's Spotlight On session, where we are joined by the wonderful Katie Barnard, who has recently taken a really interesting sidestep in her career. And she's also affectionately known as Katie B on a mission at Impression. So welcome, Katie. Before we get started, could you give us a little introduction into who you are and what your role is here at Impression?
Yes, so obviously I'm Katie. I've worked at Impression for about 3 years now. So I joined back in 2021. I started out as an SEO executive, and then I worked through the department for a long time. I progressed through to senior SEO strategist. Really loved my time in that department. But very recently, about 2 months ago now, I've moved into the people team. It's a secondment, and my role is technical development and impact specialist.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. So yeah, a bit of a niche role, but something really exciting to look at, two of my passions, learning, development, but also impact, which is the impact that we're having on our employees, our wider community. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix of both.
Why did you choose Impression? And you've been here about 3 years, so what makes you stay here?
So actually I was thinking about this, quite a full circle moment. I would say the reason why I chose to apply here was actually the impact report. So I was moving to Nottingham at the time, and I was trying to find a digital marketing agency that I could continue my SEO career in. I found Impression on LinkedIn, and I think it was very recently, or in my research, I saw that Impression released the impact report. And it was essentially talking about all the amazing things Impression were doing for the community, for the staff. And I think, one of the things that really stuck out for me was a qualification for women in leadership for some of the line managers and people who wanted to become line managers in the company. And I think that was really it. It wasn't just that Impression was saying, oh, we want to do all these amazing things for the community. We pledge and we promise to do these things. They're actually talking the talk and walking the walk. And that really resonated with me because I think it's really important that wherever I work, I like there to be some deeper meaning or a way to give back to the community. That's like one of my motivations. So that really drove me to apply for the role. I would say the reason why I stay at Impression is probably also related to that. Again, I've now seen firsthand that we talk the talk and walk the walk. So it's really important to me. But I think it's also that I really feel like I have a voice. Every time that I've had some feedback, maybe a concern or an idea, literally even when I was like an SEO executive, every job role I've had, my voice has definitely been heard. And that's from maybe the seniors in my team, but also MT, like the leadership across the whole company. It even goes as far as the organic unit directors. They have an open one-to-one session where you can book in and speak to them about everything and anything. And I've seen firsthand that when I've given feedback, it's been actioned. And I don't think that's very common. Maybe it happens to some extent, but at Impression I do feel really valued, my voice is heard, and that makes me feel really special.
That's so lovely. And what a great cyclical moment moving from that first point of you seeing that impact report to leading on that strategy. It's awesome. So in your new role, what does a day in the life look like for you?
So there's a lot going on at the moment. Obviously, I've just moved into the new role. But on a typical day, so my role is 80% technical training with more 20% of the impact team and the impact work that we do. So my work will look at working with lots of different stakeholders across the company. So that might be heads of departments or the directors, and just really finding out where we're heading in terms of the skills that we need, the different job roles that we have, and putting a plan together. I recently have done a project and working with a lot of people across the company to collate and audit all of our training material. So it's about making sure that we have the right training for all of the competencies and all of the skills that our employees need to do their job really well. But it's also about making sure that training is really engaging, that it's being followed up on, that there's quizzes, there's different ways that people can really engage with the training and that it's valuable. I mean, our whole vision is to make sure that we're the best place for digital talent to transform their career. So I'd say every single day I'm looking at ways to make that possible. Moving to the impact side of things, obviously this is 20% my role, so a smaller proportion, but I'll be working with volunteers across the company. So I really like this part of my job because I get to work with lots of different people who I might not normally get to. But we'll be looking at ways to make a real impact with our employees and the community. So some of the things that we're working on include creating inclusive meeting guidelines, currently working on creating an action plan for EDI, but also it'll be things like maybe planning in a yoga session, all the typical things that an agency might have that is really important for us. Things like mental health brunches for women and also for men. There's lots going on. It always looks different every single day, but it's really impactful, and that's what's important to me.
Yeah, and I think the great thing about what you've mentioned is how much you're pulling in other people's feedback. You're consistently talking to people around the company about what really matters to them, which is such an important part of your role. As we've kind of spoken about and mentioned, you've had quite an interesting sidestep into this career, and I'm really interested in hearing about what that process was like for you. So moving from the SEO team to the people team, how has that looked like?
Yeah, so it's quite a jump, quite different in my day to day. But what happened was a secondment opportunity was released by the people team, looking for anyone who might be interested in moving to the people team, working on training. This has always been something that was important to me. I'd worked with the impact team in the company whilst I was in SEO. But what I really liked is there was a job description that was given for this new role, and it was not set in stone. There were no competencies saying you must have this particular qualification or this particular experience. It was really focused on transferable skills, and I could really see how everything that I'd done previously, impression, whether that was in my role or the other sort of extracurricular bits I'd got involved in, would be transferable. So I applied, and as part of the interview process, I had to do a 30, 60, 90-day plan of what I would do in the new role, and then answer some competency questions. And again, what I really liked was this plan didn't have to be polished. It wasn't expected of me that I was going to come in and be perfect in this interview. It was all about talking about my ideas and how, what I would do in the role based on what I know from my delivery team experience. So it was really exciting to do the interview because I could talk about all these ideas that I'd had and sort of how I would take the knowledge that I have from being in a delivery team and working with my colleagues and really seeing what we do, to then pulling that into the people team, into the training and into our impact team as well. So that went really well, obviously, when I got the role. But I think what was really impactful for me is obviously the move then from the SEO team to the people team was quite daunting, or it could have been quite daunting because it was a big move. But it was quite a slow transition. And in that transition, I worked with my line manager, Zoe, to go back over my 30, 60, 90-day plan and make some really clear KPIs as to what I was going to do in my secondment. So what is expected of me, what goals I needed to achieve, and in what particular time frame. So they were very smart goals. And I think it was this that made the transition so smooth. It made it really clear to me how I was going to use the skills that I'd learned and build upon them, develop my own skills, train myself to then deliver in this new role and a new team.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's really about removing those barriers to change so that people can be supported in their passions as well. We know that the path to your dream career isn't always linear. So you've mentioned a few ways in which we supported you during that journey. How does Impression continue to support you gaining those transferable skills that you can move from an SEO role to a different career?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few different ways that I've personally experienced. I think in whatever role you're in at Impression, because we have regular one-to-ones with your line manager, I feel like you're constantly having a conversation about your development, what you're interested in, and how you're going to get there. And it felt quite fluid for me in that obviously we always have goals, and in the department or team that you're in, you have shared goals, but it's individual enough that you can explore things that you're passionate about. So I'd say while I was in SEO, I was learning everything that I wanted to do, leadership, like the different competencies that I'd have to be good at SEO, but also project management, talking to stakeholders, all of these wider transferable skills. So that was really relevant to my role, but then obviously transferable. But apart from that, I feel like there's lots of opportunities to get involved with what I called extracurricular activity Impression. So at the time, I was heavily involved in our impact activities. So again, this would be things like organising our women's health brunch, or organising yoga activities. And while this fell outside of my normal role in my delivery team, I was able to work with different people from the different departments. I'd be able to talk to people in departments about what their role was like, talk to different stakeholders. So this gave me a really good idea of what other roles could be like and maybe what I might want to move into. And again, I don't think that's always commonplace in a workplace. So I feel very thankful for that. And that's really what gave me the spark and confidence that when I saw that secondment role come up, I was like, yes, this is something I want to do.
I love that. And it's so nice to hear that there's this sense of community that's helped supported you on this journey that is carrying out into your new role as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie. If you want to find out more about Impression Careers, head to our website.